Well,
This is a Trekzone Conversation.
All right, Michael, just roll the opener. It has been 2 years since our first Trekzone Conversation guest for this live stream has joined me. Sorry, let me read that auto cue again. It's been 2 years since our first Trekzone Conversation guest for this live stream joined me. Lee Sargent and Talkin Trek return now. Lee, I really appreciate you dropping by, mate, especially live this Monday morning. We definitely should keep Talkin Trek alive.
Hey, how's it going, Matt? For those who don't know, I've done a number of, you'll have to excuse the incredible mess behind me, as I think anyone who's ever seen me on this show before knows that it hasn't gotten any better. A few years ago, quite a few years ago now, I started drawing a lot of Star Trek pictures, one a day. It was a really interesting project to kind of combine something I loved with finding myself as an illustrator. As one of my kind of really big supporters back then was Matt and Trekzone, who were really excited about everything that I was doing. Got me on to start talking about Star Trek because Matt and myself had interesting opinions. I think sometimes we, the general consensus we didn't always go with. So, it's been an interesting kind of time. And I think we were covering off pretty much every season of original and then next gen, and talking about kind of the different, classic shows. It was a real joy, and it was actually to be the first on the Talkin Trek was actually a surprisingly big honor. I don't say it surprisingly to kind of downplay it, but it was. Trekzone's had such a wonderful history, and kind of being part of that family a little bit has been just really, really nice. So, yeah. And I don't know, any
awesome,
dirty
Lee. Thank you. Just waiting for our wireless mic pack to connect, and there it is.
Cool.
That is what happens when we are live, and batteries say they're full, but anyway. So I was catching some of that. We'll make sure, Michael, that my microphone is turned on. You are obviously hearing me there, Lee.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome. Well, there we go. This is what we're doing live. So I was... I was listening to you as well. That really is where we started. We had this desire to create a podcast, discuss Trek, and share our ideas. I think the best part was that we didn't always agree.
That's true.
Which was great as well.
It was and that was refreshing about it, I think, which was great, because I think I've had strong opinions in the past, particularly when it comes to canon, and you have also had differing opinions with some of the stuff that I've said, and we've managed to. I know this is a shocking concept, but we managed to actually agree to disagree, and didn't just scream at each other for like 6 hours, or try and flame each other online, or cancel each other out, or anything like that. So I know it's very unheard of, and it's a very old-fashioned way of doing dialogue, but that's what we did. So and I really appreciated the platform to kind of vent sometimes, because I don't even remember, there was I don't know, I guess it was Discovery, because Discovery was a big catalyst for everyone, and I had a lot of visual opinions about kind of the visual stuff. I'm not a fan of kind of abandoning everything, and I'm not opening that can of worms again. But, I'm very pleased to come back, though, and say Picard Season 3 has renewed my faith in an appreciation for the aesthetics of the past.
Yeah, it absolutely has. And key member of the production staff, Doug Drexler, is going to join us after we chat together here.
Awesome.
So looking forward to catching up with him. It's been a little while since he's been on the show, and just learning about the production processes in there. I know Dave Blass, we caught up with him at Vegas last year, was really heavily wanting to do that homage to Next Gen, bring everything back. And I think what they did well was that it wasn't... it wasn't completely destroying what had been. It was kind of accepting that that's the way that they're going to take this stuff. But also, have a look at all this over here and let's just have the Enterprise D in a space museum because, of course.
To me, it was okay. And I've seen complaints about fan service. I mean, you're watching a TV show called Picard. I'm not really sure where the confusion point is there. Of course, it's going to be fan service, and I'm here for the fan service. I love it. So this idea of even seeing Kirk's Enterprise, as you know, I'm a big original series guy, and it doesn't mean that I discount any kind of thing else. But knowing that Kirk's remains are there on board whatever that space station is, and the way they brought the Enterprise D back, it was just wonderful.
Yeah, it absolutely was, and it felt natural as well to bring everyone back. And I know that's what they said that they were going to do, and what they really strive for. There was no kind of forced emotion. I know there was some talk online about how we didn't get to see a lot of, we kind of had this feeling that it was going to be everyone all together from the beginning. But I think the way that they did it was very natural. Okay, we've gotten to this point now, and we're going to need Geordie to come in, and we're going to get to this point, and we need to bring in, Troy needs to be here as well. So, she's kidnapped, and so that's where Riker comes along.
I think the word need is really, really important there as far as the storytelling kind of method is. Each of them had purpose of being there, and each of them unable to give us kind of whole story arcs. They had to shortcut to get to points where we know where Worf is now, and we know kind of where Riker and Troy are, and of course Dr. Crusher, who I think that must have been really fantastic for her to kind of come back and play this badass kind of mercenary doctor. And again, it's like this kind of issue of, would it be nice to have a whole new Next Generation season? Maybe. But maybe not at the same time. I think it's nice just seeing where the characters have fallen, and if any of them want to come back and do stuff, then there's always the door there. So I think that's really exciting. And I think Seven of Nine's journey, taking it more on a focus of kind of her becoming a captain and stuff is really, really great. I think that they've done a really interesting way of bringing that back into the fold. So, yeah. And Strange New Worlds, of course. I mean, we haven't mentioned that. Obviously, they've tried to mesh the aesthetic of original Star Trek with a new show, and I think that again they've made really credible kind of attempts to merge the two. And and I don't think one doesn't necessarily have to. There's no absolutes. You don't. If whatever headcanon you want to have is your headcanon, and that's official to you. So, which has always been our argument, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I reckon you're going to come back in a pre-recorded chat, and we're going to dive deeper into this and bring Talkin Trek back. This morning we're kind of covering a lot of stuff off over the last 2 years. Strange New Worlds, of course, I forget, but that started after we last spoke. So, looking at that aesthetic, how are they going to do the Enterprise? They really did. They changed it up subtly from what we saw in Discovery Season 2 to a more fleshed out hero bridge, which was cool. And I know we've had this chat on Talkin Trek before as to whether would a 1960s bridge, would the original bridge have been accepted for Strange New Worlds?
Yeah, it's a hard one. I think you could probably have pushed it a little bit closer and still gotten away with it. But I take the point. I think the aesthetic design is there, though. This is the thing. I remember when I guess Discovery was, I must have been season 2 Discovery, I guess, because that's when the Enterprise shows up. I remember seeing online a lot of complaints, about old school Star Trek fans going, what is going on with this, and blah, blah, blah. And I think at the end of the day, my issue always was that there were some very talented people working on original Star Trek. And to say that you can do better, or to assume that you can do better from a we need to radically redesign something because that's what we do, was offensive. And I think what they've done now is been very, very impressive in how they've paid homage, but also have put a new, have updated it for current audiences a little bit more. And I like the retro feel that they've got right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Picard Season 3, Strange New Worlds, Discovery's wrapping up. We're going to keep these topics fast flowing because we're going to deep dive.
I know we have. Well, we have to. We've got Prodigy's been cancelled, and
Prodigy's been
which
cancelled.
wasn't even started when we were last talking, and it has Janeway in it, for God's sakes, and I don't know. And
Chakotay.
Years. Yeah, exactly. Like years ago, going back 5 years, we would not have dreamed of this. And here we are kind of jumping through, and it's already been cancelled. And of course, Lower Decks, I think we were talking about that last time, about potentially how skeptical we were of a Rick and Morty-esque version of Star Trek. And it's become its own thing. It's become its own identity, which is great. There was so many years of nothing happening in Star Trek to everything happening in Star Trek, and I think we probably could fill several hours. And today's not about catching up on whatever my skewy opinions are on this. It is definitely to celebrate the fact that you've been going for that 20 years, and just being appreciative of being part of that and being kind of recognized as someone who's passionate about Star Trek and obviously the aesthetics of Star Trek with the look and feel. You've always given me a great platform for that, and I just really wanted to make the effort to jump on and thank you for that live. With potentially the worst vest ever for TV. So I just realised.
I like it. It's coming up.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. It's so sparkly. But yeah. So yeah, Matt, I do I remember meeting you. We met, I think, at Redcliffe.
Yeah, that's right.
I think we were out at a park or something, and you were trying to record with gale force winds and etc. And I had no idea what was going to, who you were or what you were on about. And I think we've been really lucky to kind of forge one of those friendships where we duck in and duck out of each other's lives every year or so, and just pick up from the day before, which is really nice.
You just need to answer your Facebook messages a bit more often.
Oh God, yeah, I know, but that's I'm not gonna make those stupid promises.
Well, in the replay of our chat, so each of these chats this morning are going to be put up as their own episodes on the channel.
Oh, cool.
I will throw up some vision there of that first chat. We were younger. I certainly had more hair back then. We were overlooking.
I'm just faking it right now, so it's letting it fluff up so it looks like there's more than there is.
We were looking at the Redcliffe Bridge. The Redcliffe Bridge was in the background. We'd just randomly gone to a car park at a nature reserve, and there's nothing sketchy about that at all. But, here we are. We survived. It's all good.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
just dial 00 on your phone.
Yeah, oh no, I had my wife was in the bushes making sure.
Wondered what that rustling was.
Yeah, that was it. That's what kept upsetting the sound quality was someone in the bushes watching us, which sounds even sketchier at this stage now.
It's getting worse.
That's it. But no, it's been I think having an Australian, and I know that you're international and stuff like that, but I think having someone local passionate about Star Trek has been really wonderful to kind of to see and to have around. And whilst I am the worst person in the world for interacting with anyone, as you know from just my Facebook messages, I've always been keeping track of what you're doing and stuff. I think we're also on LinkedIn of all random channels. I've kind of always kept just an ear out for what you were doing. And of course, I think I was saying to you, there's all this controversy going on for you. And I'm like, okay, that sounds crazy, whatever's going on there. So I'm glad I'm not part of that. No offense.
And I think that's also changed.
I'm not going to kick into the animated Star Trek fan films because I don't have time. I'll stick with one frame at a time.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I think that it was kind of a result of COVID. I'd always covered Star Trek fan films, but it really, when I needed to fill out 350 episodes in a year, you've got to find content, and the best content is the stuff that you don't have to necessarily write yourself. So it's kind of, I guess, where it sort of happened, and that was kind of after we sort of spoke. And it is what it is. You know, you were in the green room listening to the editorial at the end of the awards. It's kind of the full stop on the whole thing. It's quite disappointing. But look, we're not here for that. Let's get back to Star Trek.
No. Well, I did want to mention 359, the winner. I hadn't seen anything about that, and hearing that story that's so clever. And I guess that's the thing. That's the shame of this, but you can still appreciate kind of people's productions of stuff. And I think without the politics and all that type of stuff, I think there's love of Star Trek and this love of being creative and bringing creativity into this is really, that's the more important thing, I think, at the end of the day. So like, all the politics be damned, which is such a weird thing in a genre like Star Trek. You know, no one owns it. Well, Paramount owns it, obviously. But the love of everything, it's a shared love. And as I say, it's the same argument always of trying to impose one's own thoughts or take on something onto other people. What, you don't like Discovery? Oh, my God, you're not a Star Trek fan. It's like, who are you to say that? You know, stuff like that. And then even for, oh, you like Discovery, you're not a Star Trek fan. It's like, come on. It's all good, and we're all here for everything. And yeah, I mean, if you don't like something and you don't want it, and you just move on. Just, you don't need to tell anyone. Hey, I like Star Trek Discovery. You know what? Don't reply if you don't, because it's not gonna. It doesn't require it. So, and that's always been my thoughts on the fandom, as far as I don't get. And I've whipped people up. Don't worry about that. I've been in arguments online, and I think one day I kind of went, "Oh, this is not useful or productive," and it has zero benefit to my life and their life. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about before. You know, we had this healthy discussion, but we didn't feel the need to go and, send each other demand letters and, you know.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, shocking. Shocking that we could actually have a different take on something.
I know, right?
And who knows? There's probably. I mean, I'm sure our two opinions aren't the only two opinions out there either. There may even be a third one out there. I mean, it'd be wrong. Like really wrong, but but you know, I kind of, and I'm excited about. I really hope that we do get a chance to do a bit more Talkin Trek, because I'm curious to see where Star Trek goes now that it's looked at Prodigy and said, we're not going to do that anymore, which is fascinating to me, because the idea of it just being cancelled like that is fascinating and kind of sad for the people involved. But I am curious about where Star Trek goes in this new kind of Star Wars centric kind of juggernaut, with Disney kind of doing its thing and the Marvel universe and all that type of stuff. Like, where does Star Trek sit? And I mean, years ago, the idea of recasting Captain Kirk as a side character would have been abhorrent. Whereas seems good. I don't know. I think there's still a lot of life in Star Trek, but I also think that balance is really important for everyone. So, yeah.
And I think our main gripe is kind of still there. Let's move on from this era. I know that there's all these sort of Strange New Worlds has found a bit of a niche to get into and discuss this time. You know, Dr. Trek, Larry Nemeczek, tells me that he's happy with where Strange New Worlds is sitting. It's in this time where we've kind of talked about it in the original series, but we don't know too much about it. Kirk's kind of timeline is still intact canonically. But I don't know. I think I'm still where I was with Discovery. Do we need to be here?
No, we don't. And I
Voyager?
agree. What I really liked about Star Trek Picard season 3 was the Titan reclass, which was a Constitution kind of homage. And I'm like,
Constitution 3.
yeah, well, and I'm like, well, that's actually really awesome. If you want to revisit that style, why not do it in that era with a Constitution 3? Because then you are kind of giving the very familiar, but you're also going forward, and you're not caught up by the fact that at some stage the Enterprise has to go through a massive refit for reasons, and and there are other decisions. I mean, we can nitpick all we want. I mean, the fact that Khan Noonien Singh's great granddaughter is on the Enterprise, I do question why one would do that to themselves when you just all you had to do was not. You could have made them anyone's. It's an odd one, that one, from my point of view of just why you're trying to make things harder for yourself. And we said that with Discovery. It's like, why would you make things harder for yourself when you could easily have just done this in the future? I kind of, and I think, but I also think at the same time, if you are going to go if you are looking to cash in on that kind of nostalgia or fan service, then just do it properly. Just hook in. I get excited about this idea of where they might go with not season 4 of Picard or this Star Trek Legacies or whatever. I've been kind of vaguely hearing about the idea of being able to tell different stories with legacy characters is just it's just great, and I'm really there for it. I'd love to see kind of be able to have the actors that we still have with us come back and do things just for one-offs or whatever, or come back and weave into a storyline. I just think that's just smart. It opens yourself up and doesn't mean you have to go there, but it does mean that you've got those options, and don't necessarily abandon. Like, I love on Picard, sorry to keep going on about it, but the Admiral's badges being a direct homage to the Mighty Maroon jacket, kind of the Monster Maroon jacket kind of badge. It looks so cool and new, but it also, I knew what that was, and I think that's nice. I think there's a great, I think personally, I think there's a great kind of legacy that's coming with those type of balance, and I think we just had to go through some stuff to get there.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's really telling that you're focusing on Picard season 3, spending a little time away and so much Trek in the interim, but Picard season 3 really is kind of that one that kind of speaks to us. I think I enjoyed it as well, and the setup for Star Trek Legacy, as its working title is, and it's kind of on the back burner now.
I know nothing about it either. I have not. It's really interesting. I over the last couple of years, I've really stepped out of that whole kind of needing to, like, I didn't know anything about Star Trek Strange New Worlds apart from, like, I hadn't devoured every little bit of it I just watched it as a show, and I think that actually adds to the joy of that, of being able to, it takes me back to my childhood of when Next Generation was brand new, and I think that's part of the thing about Picard season 3 is that it was like coming home, which was nice.
And I think it really showed us what, aside from our TNG crew being the main story, I think it really showed us what Trek now could have been. And it could have been this opportunity for all of our characters from 90s Trek to make cameos as the story sort of justified. Oh,
gotcha. Yeah, and for good reasons. That's the thing. Like, I mean, Michael Dorn, we know... we famously want to put Worf in everything.
Yes.
But yes, that'll come up when anyone watches the old interviews. But Michael Dorn was always keen to be part of Star Trek, and I'm sure many of the other actors and actresses were too. I kind of just go, wouldn't it be wonderful to have a DeForest Kelly McCoy episode of Next Generation or something like that, apart from his original appearance, when we had him. And when we had, Leonard Nimoy and James Doohan and Nichelle Nichols, why wouldn't you take advantage of the fact that these people were still around? So I always kind of think they're lost opportunities where it's like, yeah, sure, let's make it work, because these people are big parts of this franchise. And if William Shatner wants to go back and redo Star Trek V edited with a bunch of CGI, then shut up and take my money now. I'll Kickstarter that to hell and back, because I'd love to see that.
Can we get rid of the fan dance though?
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, we'd have to. Yeah, I don't know how they're going to CGI that out of our eyeballs, but something. But here you go. You've got a 90-year-old guy who's been into space, and is Captain James Tico. I don't care. Paramount, write off some money and give him the opportunity.
Just get him back.
Yeah, just give him the opportunity now while you've got him.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, that whole thing, early Next Gen, apparently it was a Gene Roddenberry thing, that he didn't want to, come back to the past, which is really unfortunate, because we look at it now and, it's this whole thing of not cramming them in, but having a story that justifies it. And we saw that with Relics in TNG. Hey, we just happened to
Relics was really a solid episode, whereas I think I always struggle with unification a little bit. I don't know. I just felt... there was more story there to tell, or I don't know. It was a hard one because you had a lot going on in that episode. It was also the death of Sarek and stuff like that. But yeah, that Relics episode, I mean, it just stands out as an absolute gem of how you could handle this kind of stuff. And I really liked in Picard again, where we had Chekhov's son, supposed son.
Yep, as the Federation
fantastic.
President. Yeah, just a real nice subtle nod.
Just a nod. You don't need to get crazy with it. He doesn't have to be front and center and doesn't have to own the thing. It was just really nice to have a nod to him in that. So I think that's really nice, because these people have to. I mean, we love Star Trek and everything, but these people had to live with Star Trek. So so a little bit of reverence isn't that bad an idea, I think, because they're extraordinarily fortunate, they also, to a lot of degrees, did not have a choice of being Chekhov for the rest of his life, and stuff like that. And I know that he's kind of grappled with that a little bit. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Lee, I think that's a nice place to pin our conversation. I know you've got to head off and do some real-world work, so we'll let you go and do that. We will keep this conversation going. We'll get back and jump on another Zoom and chat all things Trek and dive it into those seasons just like we did in the past. There's plenty more Star Trek to talk about, so really appreciate you beaming in this morning.
Oh, yeah, no, my pleasure. And again, congratulations. I'm so keen. I may even clean my room for it. So, yeah.
Why start now?
I need to start now, particularly how long it takes us to actually organise things. So that would be just enough time, I think. But I promise not to ignore the DMs.
Very, very good. Well, Lee, once again, appreciate you beaming in, and we will talk to you real soon. Well, don't forget that about our membership. For less than a cup of coffee per month, you'll get early access and behind the scenes. For a little bit more, you can go behind the curtain for your protection. Our social media feeds are active with the latest podcast highlights, and we're on Threads now too. Find Trekzone, like, follow and subscribe. This has been another part of our celebrating 20 years of Trekzone live stream event. It's an absolute thrill to actually have a crew here, be standing in the garage and really just whitening out this virtual studio. My thanks to Lee. That was a little bit of a last minute call up, so I appreciate him beaming in as well. Don't go away if you're watching us live. There's plenty more to come. And if you are catching this on replay, be sure to look out for more great content from our 20th anniversary. Michael, it is time to take a break and set up for our next Trekzone conversation. We'll see you again real soon.
We'll continue celebrating 20 years of Trekzone right after this. There's a dimension beyond that which is known to man. A dimension as vast as space and timeless as infinity. It's the middle ground between shadow and truth, between science and ingenuity, and it lies somewhere out there. Beyond strange new worlds and the spirit that defines humanity. It's a dimension of imagination where the adventure never ends and the Trek Zone begins.
David Nichol himself, Richard Dean Anderson, thanks so much for your time. Australia's only astronaut, Dr. Andy Thomas.
When you make a film, you don't know which ones are going to be classics and which aren't.
Tim Russ, Connor Trenier, Grant Imahara, Larry Nemenchek.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Hi, I'm Anthony Rapp. I play Paul Stamets on Star Trek Discovery.
I'm Ava Blackwell from Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
Hi, this is Dave Blass. I'm production designer of Star Trek Picard.
And you are watching Trekzone.
Trekzone.
And you're watching Trekzone.
Beaming live around the world on Trekzone TV. It's our 20th anniversary celebration.